Alright, good evening ladies. In today's video I want to do a deep dive on a coin which I believe has 100x potential in the next 1 to 2 years. Now, you'll hear a lot of people in crypto say the only thing that matters when you're investing in crypto is where the narrative is and where the attention is going to be. Fundamentals don't matter at all. Well, I slightly disagree with that statement. But this coin actually has all the narratives, all the best narratives, as well as having a lot of fundamental value. So it's a perfect storm of fundamental and narratives and attention, which will be coming in the next cycle. So what is this coin that perfectly hits some of the best narratives in crypto for the next cycle, as well as having deep fundamental value? I've talked about it before, and the coin is Shadow. Ticker is Shadow from GenesysGo. So what are the big narratives that this coin perfectly fits into? So the first narrative that this coin perfectly slots into is it's in the Solana ecosystem. Now, I've been vocally bullish on Solana for the last year, making so many videos about Solana. I'm still extraordinarily bullish on Solana for the next bull cycle. So I think enough is said. It's in the Solana ecosystem, so it's faster, cheaper, better in a lot of ways than, other layer ones. Now, the second narrative that this perfectly slots into, which I think is going to be, it's quite a slept on narrative at the moment, but I think it's going to be a huge narrative in the next bull cycle because there's a lot of fundamental value in this narrative. It's decentralized physical infrastructure, or Depin for short. Most people call it Depin. So some examples of this are Render, which is like decentralized compute, Filecoin, Arrowweave, Helium with the $20 mobile plan where anyone can provide cellular data for people and get paid for doing that, as well as Hivemapper, which is like a decentralized mapping service. I think some of these projects are extremely interesting. However, the more I look into other coins in the decentralized physical infrastructure space, the more I'm drawn back to Shadow, because the tokenomics of Shadow are extraordinary in comparisons to other Depin plays. We'll get into that further on in the video. So the last narrative that this perfectly slots into, of course, is the narrative which I'm probably the most bullish on for the next cycle, and that of course is AI. I think AI at the moment is a little bit not in the limelight in terms of narratives, but if you don't think this is going to be a big narrative in the next cycle, at some point when the next kind of ChatGPT comes out or something, yeah, you're probably mistaken in my opinion. I think at some point there's going to just be unbelievable gold rush of AI coins at some point, and 99% of AI coins, I've researched loads of them at this point. So many of them are complete dog shit, to be honest, but this coin actually has a proven business model, has proven use cases. So I know it's not 100% AI focused, but it's tangentially related to AI, and AIs are going to need a huge amount of decentralized storage, and that's exactly what Shadow offers: decentralized storage and compute. So like I said, I'm very interested in Depin projects, so I have invested a little bit into Hivemapper, which is the mapping service, as well as Helium. However, and Render as well. I haven't bought any Render at the moment, but I'm very interested in them. But when you look at the tokenomics of Shadow, they're really, really strong. Like you can see the fully diluted valuation is still less than $200 million. So the other coins, the other projects in this space have fully diluted valuations in the billions. So the potential upside is obviously going to be a little bit capped because, the insiders, the VCs, they might have a lot of coins that they can dump onto the market over the next 1 to 2 years. I know a lot of people say fully diluted valuation doesn't matter, it's just a meme. However, it's definitely preferable if you have a low fully diluted valuation. In my opinion, there's a much higher potential upside. Like, why couldn't Shadow get to a $20 billion fully diluted valuation in the next bull cycle when AI coins are going absolutely through the roof, and this offers decentralized storage, which is exactly what AIs will need, and that obviously would be a 100x from today's market cap. So if you've actually been watching my videos for a while, you'll have seen I've kind of said that I'm very bullish on decentralized storage because AIs are going to prefer decentralized storage services rather than centralized storage services like Amazon Web Services in the very distant future. Now, if you want to hear more about that, I'll leave my previous videos on why that is, because this video is going to be long enough already. But in those videos, I hadn't actually heard of Shadow at that time, so I was looking at Filecoin and I was looking at Arrowweave as these decentralized storage plays. Now, I settled on buying Arrowweave because Filecoin's fully diluted valuation is already like $2 billion, and there's a lot of tokens that still need to come onto supply. I didn't like the tokenomics, But then once I found Shadow, which has much better tokenomics, and it has much better tech, which I want to describe, I want to explain a bit further, because Shadow is newer. It is much newer tech, much better tech because of that. Now, there's obviously differences and trade-offs, but when you dig into it, like, it's faster, cheaper, it's on the Solana blockchain. Of course, the transactions are going to be faster and cheaper. So just like in the way Solana saw some of the problems with Ethereum, and they decided to start from scratch, not use the Ethereum virtual machine, they created their own Solana virtual machine, the Solana SVM, or the SVM. And that's why Solana is superior in a lot of ways in comparisons to Ethereum. Shadow have done the exact same thing. They saw some of the problems with Filecoin, and they've started from scratch, made something entirely new. Same idea, same principles, but I've done it just with much better tech. And that's why Shadow is becoming one of the biggest positions in my portfolio at the moment. Okay, so even if you don't think that AIs are going to be using decentralized storage in the next couple of years, there is the narrative there that the potential for AIs to use Shadow services is there. And that's enough to put Shadow into the AI crypto bubble. However, even without the AI crypto narrative as the tailwind, decentralized storage and cloud is just going to be massive. It already is massive, but it's not slowing down at all over the next few years. Like, I'm sure a lot of you who work in a business are seeing that the business is moving entirely onto the cloud. Pretty much no businesses are running their own servers now unless they're huge. So small, medium-sized enterprises are all going into the cloud for like so many benefits. And in the future, do you think people are going to use more storage or less storage? Of course, storage only goes up over time. As our videos get more HD, we watch way more video. Video is like really the big driver of cloud storage. That's one of the biggest consumers of data. Like, have you ever run out of memory on your phone or on your laptop? I run out of memory all the time. I need to delete stuff all the time. So of course there's going to be more and more and more need for more and more cloud providers or more storage over time. And what Shadow does is allows anyone who has excess storage, say if you have 5 computers and you don't need all the storage on all of them, you can sell that excess storage, and Shadow puts encrypted storage, like split up into tiny bits all across the world. So anyone who's storing their data in Shadow, like it's 6 times backed up, all divided up, the data's all divided up, so someone who's storing it on their device can't actually see it or can't decrypt it themselves, but it's backed up 6 times, spread out all across the world. So it's actually much safer than all stored in one data center potentially. Like, because it's decentralized, it's like, okay, imagine like the Bible. It's pretty much impossible to delete the Bible because it's decentralized into 1 billion different households across the earth. That's kind of the same idea with Shadow. So the other nice thing about Shadow in comparisons to the Web 2 providers like Amazon Web Services is that it's cheaper, because it's just people selling their excess storage on their laptops. They're willing to sell it for less than someone who's built, like they're not using it, so they're willing to sell that excess storage for less than someone who's purposely built these huge data centers, these really expensive storage data centers specifically for that purpose. So it's cheaper, it's faster, potentially more safe, more backed up, and it allows anyone who has excess storage to sell that excess storage and make use of it. So it's with a lot of these Depin projects, there's a lot of actual value being created here. Unlike a lot of crypto, like we all know, like a lot of crypto is just gambling. There's not a lot of 90% doesn't really have much value, but that 10% that does have value has potential to completely disrupt the world. So this is potentially one of those projects, and definitely Depin is one of those sectors that does have that potential. Now, as I've been saying in so many of my videos recently, like the things I'm interested in are Solana and AI, and I've just continually saying that AI at some point is going to go absolutely bonkers. And the reason it's going to go bonkers, particularly AI mixed with crypto, is because there's nowhere really in the traditional markets where you can invest in AI. The only place you could really get some AI exposure was Nvidia, and Nvidia went absolutely berserk. As you saw, it went like plus 40% in one day. That was like the biggest increase in market cap in one day of any company in history. But the average retail investor, like Nvidia is already worth $1 trillion. So anyone who wants to get into like a lower market cap project or a lower market cap company has to go through the venture route, and they need to become an accredited investor. They need to have $1 million in the bank, and yeah, most people aren't going to do that. However, in crypto, of course, you don't need to be accredited. These silly rules. Anyone can go and buy into a coin, invest in a project that is even tangentially related to crypto. So that's one of the reasons AI in crypto has huge potential in the next bull cycle. And like I said, most of the AI coins are pretty much garbage. Like there's not much going for them, but decentralized storage is 100% an actual use case, an actual product with real use case. And AIs in the future will prefer decentralized storage because it's permissionless and it's censorship resistant. The same thing with AI agents. They will prefer using crypto rails because like using a credit card as an AI agent doesn't really make a lot of sense. I've talked about AI agents in my previous AI video on Autonomous, so that's another coin I'm getting interested in, but I won't get too deep in the weeds. But AIs are going to be there's much less friction for an AI to use crypto rails than use traditional banking rails, because an AI agent can't open up a bank account, and an AI agent doesn't want to be censored or deleted by Amazon Web Services. So obviously a censorship resistant project like Shadow is preferable for AIs in the distant future. Now, if you look at how well Render has been performing over the last few months, Render is a decentralized compute platform. So it's a similar narrative. It's kind of AI related in the fact that it's offering decentralized compute power, and Shadow's offering decentralized compute power as well as decentralized storage. So they're quite similar. However, Render has a market cap that's 10 times higher than Shadow, and both have very good technology. Potentially Shadow has better technology. So that's why I do like Render as well, but Shadow, there's more potential upside in my opinion. Like I said, the technology for Shadow as a killer team, really, really smart guys. They started with an RPC. They created an RPC for Solana. That's kind of the in-between people between the validators and the actual Solana blockchain. And now they kind of somewhat pivoted to creating decentralized storage. So they're really smart engineers. They're completely engineering focused, and the tokenomics, like I said, the distribution of the tokens was through NFTs. It was a really fair distribution. It was really well done, and that's one of the reasons tokenomics are really nice with Shadow. They distributed it really well. They're not too worried about pumping their own bags and having a huge allocation for themselves. So another strong bonus point for Shadow. Now let's just go through some of the tech points why Shadow's tech is really interesting and really strong. So they use a DAG. I forget what it stands for, decentralized something or other. But if you've heard of a DAG, but if you've heard of Caspa is one of the new layer ones that has been going absolutely crazy, and that's using a DAG. And yeah, Shadow, the technology behind the Shadow ecosystem is also built on a DAG. The blockchain architecture is a DAG. So another nice way you can think about the difference between Shadow and Filecoin and Arweave, the more the older versions of decentralized storage, is very similar to the difference between Solana and Ethereum. Shadow is kind of using an integrated experience, whereas Filecoin and Arweave, you don't really get that all-in-one package, whereas Shadow, it does everything for you. So I'll just read out what they said because I can't remember this off by heart. But for example, if you're using Arweave, with Arweave, if you want to get uploads, fast uploads onto Arweave, you have to use a product called Bundler. And if you want to actually have the data being useful for you, you need your own front-end UI for high-speed CDN functionality. Now, with Shadow, it's all an integrated experience. You don't need to do all these extra steps to store your data and to be able to extract it again after. The other nice thing about Shadow, like I mentioned, is faster and cheaper. So the price for Shadow is 1 to 2 cents per gigabyte, half of which is then given to the Shadow operators. And Filecoins is 3 cents, so a little bit higher, 50% higher. And Arweave's per gigabyte is $8. Now the difference, you might say, okay, why would anyone ever use Arweave? Well, Arweave, it's immutable, it's stored forever. So if you want to have data in the internet stored forever, like the Bible or something that you don't want to be erased, you would put it on Arweave because it's $8 forever. So yeah, there are trade-offs, but you can see Shadow is the cheapest out of all the options. Now, one of the bad things about Shadow is that FTX actually owns 7% of the supply. So that's obviously a little bit of a downside. They're probably going to have to dump that on the market over the next couple of years. So that's kind of like an insider VC who has to dump on us. Nevertheless, we saw that we saw a similar amount of Solana was owned by FTX, and you saw how well Solana did this year. So potentially not the biggest red flag in the world, but it's something to be aware of. So I've been looking at coins, endlessly AI coins, and I keep coming back to Shadow and putting more money into Shadow. Now, I'm not saying this is like 100% guaranteed, but I do think it hits the narratives perfectly. It has a great technology, it has great tokenomics, and it has real fundamental value. So it has the narrative plus the fundamental value backing it up. So that's why, it's a coin that I've been very, very interested in. So it's pretty much slept on at the moment. It still has a very low market cap in comparisons to a lot of AI projects, a lot of decentralized storage projects, and even other Depin projects. So I don't know why it's being slept on so much, but if you have reasons why you don't like this coin, please let me know in the comments, because this is just my thesis from my research. I'm not the smartest cookie in the entire crypto space, so I'm often wrong, but I need someone to, if anyone, but I do like when people challenge me or tell me where I've gone wrong. So if there's any flaws in my logic, please let me know, because I'm sure there's plenty of flaws in there anyway. But that is my thesis on Shadow, and that is why I've put a pretty decent size position into Shadow for the next bull cycle. So I really, really hope you enjoyed the video. I really appreciate you watching. If you wouldn't mind smashing the thumbs up button, following me on Twitter. I've been sharing some plays on Twitter, including a few meme coins that have gone, I got into Whiff when it was 500k market cap. So yeah, that was a pretty nice return there. So yeah, make sure you're following me on Twitter. Links in the description. Thank you so much for watching. Bye.